Welcome to On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Rubin. I am so excited to present this podcast series addressing our rapidly changing world and how it is affecting industries and people in unique and interesting ways. As John F. Kennedy once said, change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or present are certain to miss the future. The business leaders and personalities who I will be interviewing in these podcasts certainly look to the future. And I hope you come away with information and inspiration that helps you adapt in both your business and personal lives. You can find these podcasts on all major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, getsplatzer.com. Welcome to another edition of On the Mark. Today, I'm going to start off by taking a sip of my coffee, which is never far from me because I love coffee. And it's particularly relevant today because today we're talking about office coffee service with two of the leading players in that field, the founder and managing partner of Hydrate, Adelson and Ralph Marucci. And welcome, gentlemen, to On the Mark.
Thanks, Howard. Good to be here.
Thanks. So Ralph, why don't you tell me how you started in this business or what the business is?
Well, I started in the business in 2007 when a venture capitalist started a great idea down on Wall Street known as Watermatic, where we replaced the need for 5-gallon jugs with these in-wall systems that connected to the nearest cold water source cosmetically and then filtrated and purified the water. That concept has not changed in all these years, but how the water has been purified and how the technology has improved has. So I've been in this for a very, very long time. It wasn't what I went to college for. It certainly wasn't what I thought I'd be doing, but I looked at it as a summer job at the time, and it really matriculated into all this. I ended up recruiting a bunch of my friends. We went to Brooklyn College, so we were all local guys. And, we all started selling this water purification system that has, become what we know as point of use systems in the world at large right now, and has taken over 5-gallon jug setups in many cases where back then people didn't care about plastic. They didn't care about 5-gallon jugs or single-use plastic because go green wasn't even a thought in 2007, believe it or not. Now sustainability has become so important. And education has become so widespread that people know exactly what we're doing. So just to reiterate that in a sense, what we do today is we are Hydrate. We're home of the zero waste pantry. We do everything in the corporate break room, not just hot and cold water systems. We also do ice. We also do sparkling. We do flavored sparkling. But then, as you mentioned, we also do coffee. We have a robust program from bean to cup down to packed coffee. And we also provide snacks and disposables to support that. So we are a one-stop shop, to put it neatly, everything in the corporate break room, and we provide all of the service to maintain these equipments that we place out there in the field. So that's kind of us in a nutshell and a little bit about my background.
And Adam, how did you get involved in this business?
I fell into the business through a friend of a friend. Went to work for a competitor of ours today, and I was a salesperson and kind of learned the business from the ground up. And I always loved to be able to kind of manage people. And an opportunity came along several years after I started to join Hydrate as the sales manager. And we developed our coffee brand from Hydrate. We became Hydrate with a coffee brand called Caffeinate.
Now, I remember when I started working in an office a long time ago, the coffee service was a Mr. Coffee that some secretary had to clean out. But the average office has changed quite a bit with that. Now, the offerings are much more sophisticated, and there are different things that people are looking for. I understand, I got a statistic, that the office coffee business now is $5 billion a year, projected to go to over $6.5 billion a year. What percentage of that business do you guys have? You
100%.
We can bet it.
No, I would say a very, very small piece of that pie. We've gotten into the coffee side 4 years ago,
Right.
and currently have about 1,000 machines out there providing a number of different types of coffee. But that is nothing, as you put it, compared to globally what people are doing. But we really do a fantastic job in the metropolitan area, specifically here in New York and New Jersey. That is our main focus. We do have a national reach through our channel partners, but we have boots on the ground here in the local region, and we are working with some of the world's largest firms. So we're very proud of that, and we do maintain a 5-star rating. So I think even though we don't have a big piece of the pie, we're doing really great with the piece of the pie that we do have.
Okay, well, having a piece of the pie that's a good pie is all you need.
That's right.
So you started off with water, but I
Yes.
would think in most offices that I'm familiar with, coffee and tea are
Mhm.
the main offerings that employees are looking for.
Well,
Is
they're sexier, certainly those offerings, I think, if I could put it that way. Certainly you can't make you can't make coffee or tea without water. Is 99% of the byproduct. And we believe in delivering the healthiest quality water in all of our products, whether it be just hot and cold or sparkling water or even ice. But even the coffee itself has to have really clean water coming through it. I think that's truly the backbone of what we offer. But yes, to your point, people are oftentimes very frustrated with their coffee program for one reason or another. And we're very glad to be the ones that they come to say, hey, can you solve our problems when it comes to service? Or, can you solve our problem when it comes to poor quality coffee? And we're, that's exactly what we focus on doing.
so, and let's talk about water for a minute because that's where
Sure.
you started.
Yeah.
Um, I can go to get bottled water. I
Hmm.
can have any coffee service offers a filter.
Yep.
Is there really a difference in the taste of water that you provide someone as to somewhere else?
Well, there better be. We put a lot more into it. And so, my thing is, and I put it this way oftentimes, if water is water, in your opinion, or coffee is coffee, in your opinion, like they're all the same, I'm not your guy. And I'm very upfront about that because we obsess over taking water quality, especially very seriously, as you heard me mention. We are using a 5 to 7 stage setup, which means that we have 5 to 7 types of filtration that go on before it's ever hitting your cup. And what I can tell you unequivocally is that irrespective of what's in your pipe, the end result is going to be pure H2O plus electrolytes, making it not only the cleanest water, but also the healthiest water. And I can say that definitively because I am not a manufacturer. I can procure and I can distribute for whomever I like. We have done our research. We have looked over the entire industry, and we procure units that we believe will serve our people best. And we work with a number of manufacturers actually to do that because not everybody's great at ice, not everybody's great at sparkling, and we provide different setups based on that. But ultimately, Howard, at the end of the day, your office, when you work with us, you're not going to have any questions as to whether or not this water is clean. And as far as the taste is concerned, as you brought up, that is truly in the eye of the beholder. But I have definitely seen where people have said, love it first sip. That is a phrase we have heard before. And I believe that is because you aren't drinking anything other than H2O and electrolytes, even down to the bacterial level. We are removing microbiological contaminants. So I don't know that many people that can make that claim. And we certainly do. It costs us more to do that, but we believe that from the very beginning, that's where the puck was going. And as we are in the present day, post COVID, that is where the puck is. People do require wellness. They do require, a program that is going to support that. And we just play a small role in all of that.
And Adam, your role in the company in terms of making sure these machines are serviced, making sure that customers are getting the best customer service they can get. What do you think stands your company apart from some of the competition in terms of the service and the delivery of these products?
It's a great question, Howard. There's so many things that factor into it. I take great pride in the coffee side of the business because we really worked very hard to make sure that the bean to cup program was a little bit personal. We wanted the best beans. We procure the best beans. It's a AAA grade bean. We roast profile it so that when we put it in our bean to cup machines, we're putting our name on it. We're putting our Caffeinate brand on it, and we want it to be that someone drinks that and they're like, oh my God, that's an amazing cup of coffee, and they're going to keep going back to it because it's special, and that's what's going to separate you, is to have something that people want that's special. But I think it goes back to what Ralph was saying when it comes to service. We always show up, we always take care of the customer, and we do it in a very unique way. Ralph and I were talking yesterday. We have 2 guys in the city with backpacks, and we try to be robust to always show up if something comes up. And I think the customers really get the benefit of that level of service from us, that if they call, they don't have to think, they don't have to worry about anything. They know we're going to show up, and they know that the machine, if something is wrong, is going to be responded to and taken care of. We even do a weekend service. So, it's taking it to that extra level, and that's what separates us.
I think the word is also empathy too, putting ourselves in people's shoes from their perspective. If I were in an office and all I really care about is my job, I obviously want the things that are going to support my job. For me, as I can just speak for myself, water and coffee are the 2 drinks that I always have on my desk, maybe a protein shake later on. But the point is, if I can go to my office and then walk into the kitchen and have this great offering, I feel better about coming to the office. But if there's an out of order sign on that machine, that kind of harpoons me a little bit. Now it kind of stymies my day, and I have to go out and find a cup of coffee or something like that. And as a business owner, I'm again putting myself in their shoes. Somebody's leaving the office to go get coffee. That takes away from productivity. That doesn't make me look good. That doesn't make my company run as well. And so it may seem like a background thing to have water and coffee service, but if you don't, what is the ramification of that? What is the time, spent going out and finding what they do need? And we know that water and coffee is going to percolate them to do their job better. So it's kind of a necessity, and that's why every office has it. But if it doesn't work and it's not running, then what? And so to Adam's point, we do everything in our power to make sure that we're nimble enough to get to these offices within a 24-hour to 48-hour time frame, which in many cases is too long. But compared to my competition, it's lightning speed. We've got people showing up a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks later to service a machine. That is a terrible look, and that is why a lot of the time they come over to us looking for some help, especially when it comes to the service.
Now, the size of the customers that you have, I assume they range from small to large. I would assume that the larger the business, the more offerings they generally offer to the customer, because it's, I would think, more cost effective for them. Is that correct? Is it what size businesses do you service, and how does that usually translate into what's being offered?
Well, five-person law firms up to 5,000, are some of the ranges that we see, especially in New York City. We have some of the world's largest law firms. We have, the world's largest bank. The thing with those groups is, of course, everybody wants their business. I look at this as a marathon, so I'm not interested in selling all of my offerings on day one if that's not going to fit the bill. We do provide everything in the corporate break room. So my belief is that we have to earn the right to be a trusted vendor, and wherever there's low-hanging fruit, we'll provide that. That being said, our entire zero waste pantry customers, that meaning customers that do everything in the break room, are of course, our best, and they offer everything to their clients and to their employees, from snacks down to just, the coffee and disposable items. So, it definitely ranges, and we have noticed over the last 2 years that customers that just bought water or rent water machines or ice machines from us have added coffee, and if they have both, they've added hot cups and cold cups. And so I think what it's showing us is that the more we continue to show up and do the right thing by people, the more they trust us with items in their break room. And I think it's common thread that they prefer one, if you excuse the phrase, one throat to choke for service as opposed to many, because that consolidates their efforts to get what they need. And since we've gone to an e-com platform, they can simply go online and order like it is Amazon, click, and everything is sent to their door, hand delivered as well. So, we've made it really convenient, and we've taken the approach of, again, empathy and marathon mindset, where we're not looking to do everything necessarily day one, but provide them with what they need now and really do a great job at that, so that when the low-hanging fruit changes, we continue to be the ones they call on.
So, Adam, let me ask you, when you go and make a call, a service call to someone who might be interested in your business, does it start off with you ask for a budget? How much do you pay now for these services, or what are you willing to pay for these services, or do you ignore that and just say, I have this and this and this and this? Now, I personally, you showed me a machine that spoiled me. You showed me this. I had an event, and you showed me this machine that grounded the beans, and the coffee was incredible. But then when I thought of it for everyday use in my office, in my law firm, it was a little pricey for what we would use for it. Something that I'd see in like a car dealership and things that are more high end. In the everyday office, we wouldn't use that. So when you show these products, now you're the other coffee that you provide is good, but it's not as good as that grounded bean coffee. It's just not as good. But am I, as an owner of a law firm, I don't know, medium-sized law firm, I guess, 35 lawyers. So, am I going to go to that expense to provide that for my employees? And that becomes an issue, the budgetary issues. So when you go make a sales call to, say, a firm like mine, where do you start? Do you start with, this is what I offer and this is what it costs? Do you try to just show them the best thing, which is usually the most expensive thing? How do you go about doing that?
It's another great question, Howard. And I'll tell you, first of all, thank you for becoming one of our newest clients and giving us a shot to work with you guys. We're super excited about it. And to be honest with you, the way that the conversation went was, where's the pain? What's going on for you guys? Where is there a gap that maybe I can fill that you're having some issues with? And to be fair, those are the types of questions that I ask all the time, because it leads to the opportunity. By the way, not everybody's a coffee opportunity. Not everybody's a water opportunity. Not everybody's a pantry opportunity. It's building a relationship that makes sense over time, and it creates a trust. And for me, and with you in particular, I was able to help you guys because I saw and I heard about pain. And when you can fill someone's pain up with something that's positive, it changes everything. I'm happy that I was able to save you some money too, but that's great. And obviously, trying the equipment is a big part of this. We do demos all the time. We want our customers to get the experience live and live with the equipment. I think when I first met Ralph, I showed him my tattoo, which he liked to see. It says "Demo equals close," and I do believe it's something that has lasted with him. And we really kind of preach to our sales team. If we get a demo, we feel like we're going to get an opportunity to close that business. But at the end of the day, it starts with pain. You guys had some pain. We uncovered it, and we were able to kind of fill the gap for you.
And I just want to say, too, to the point about price, is that I don't think it's any secret to anybody, especially in New York City, that you get what you pay for. So to that end, I don't.
It's not always true. Sometimes it's not true. But
in my business,
you get what you pay for.
In my business, it is. Maybe in the law world, it could be a little different. But I would like to think that it's on par. But that being said, you do get what you pay for in our world, because when you're getting a bean to cup setup, right, and you're getting the highest quality barista style coffee, it's going to cost more than a pod or a pack that costs far less to manufacture and put together. And the feeling that you get and the feeling that your employees get, I believe, brings about a return, as I mentioned, because if they are happier having come to the office and they're more percolated in their work, that should translate to results. And we're not talking about astronomical difference in price. We're talking about, what, Adam, 70 cents a cup, far cheaper than going to a Starbucks for $4 or $5. I'll tell you that. And again, the productivity remains in the office as opposed to having to leave and come back. So I really feel like when comparing apples to apples, it actually is pretty inexpensive, our program. But compared to, maybe like a pod setup, and even those pods, I mean, they're expensive. And there's Adam, 25% pilferage rate across the country for Keurigs and espresso pods. So I don't think they're cheaper options unless you're doing a frac pack pour over. I don't think you're getting it actually even cheaper in that respect too. So I just think that's
Exactly right, Ralph. The frac pack, ground coffee to cup is certainly going to be the least expensive. And some offices kind of go down that path, and it's super easy. It's a very easy program to manage. But it really comes back to the customer. What can we do to help you make the best decision? How much effort do you want to put in? Do you want to have to fill the machine? Do you want to have to empty the machine? Do you want to have to rinse the machine? Or do you just want a program where you just put the pack in and it brews a great cup of coffee? And the other thing is the manufacturers are leading with brand names that people are familiar with, like Lavazza and Starbucks and Pete's. So, selling that, it becomes something that people are familiar with. So it becomes a very easy kind of transition with that piece of equipment that requires very low service.
Do you,
exactly.
I'd like to talk about the future for a minute because I've been doing some reading about this industry and how AI could affect this business. I'm told that in a few years, it's expected that Mary Jones, an employee in a company, can go over to the machine. The machine, she'll say her name, or the machine will recognize her, and they'll know what Mary Jones drinks, and they'll make her drink without her having to do anything. Do you see that coming in the next few years, or is that something that's going to be a long time coming?
No, I think you're right, and I don't think you need us to tell you that the way technology is progressing, that the growth is exponential. So where we are today, a few years from now is like an eternity. I'm wondering if we're going to be dealing with that even as early as next year. I just came back from a dealership conference in Florida, and the intuition of the current machines or the coming machines are that we don't have to guess how to fix them either. You walk up to a machine from a technician's perspective and it says, hey, here's what's wrong with me. This is what you got to do to fix me. So you're already seeing a degree of kind of feedback from these units. We also have IoT technology, which is going to tell us when par levels are low or filters need to be replaced without the person having to reach out and call us first, which is revolutionary in a way, because again, if service is such a huge piece and we can get ahead of it and be proactive instead of reactive, that alone would be a huge innovation for this industry. So to get to the level of like, hey, Mary Jones, we know what type of coffee you like, by scanning her retina or something like that, which our phones already do. It's not far-fetched at all that is going to be, on the horizon very soon, probably even sooner than a few years from now, the way things are progressing. So as a forward-thinking firm who always kind of leaves an open mind to what the next big things are, and we've kind of been a leader in that respect, that we've always provided kind of the latest and greatest, if you will. Don't be surprised if you see that advertised on Hydrate's website in the next 2 years. I wouldn't be shocked at all.
Just to add to that, Ralph, and again, just some specifics, if you could imagine. So the technology has gotten on some of the new bean to cup machines that we have and that we're going to, potentially start bringing in, where you can literally put a code in and it's your code, and now it knows and it's going to tell you, do you want the same drink that you had yesterday? So, it's not, I don't know that it's retina yet, but it is to the point where it's kind of heading that way. Yeah. And it is technology. But I do say that the IoT stuff has really changed. It helps us, even on a sparkling water machine, to know that it needs CO2, and that the tank is low. So it's crazy that we never had this technology when we started. And we're even at that point today where we can, pick up the phone and say, hey, you guys are low. We're going to set up a delivery to replace your CO2 tank. And again, that's just being, proactive as opposed to reactive.
Okay, let's talk a minute about cost resistance. Now, it seems to me, I know it's true in my firm, that every year, if we're offering more services, of course, that's going to increase the cost. Do you find a lot of cost resistance from your customers in offering these products, or is cost really not an issue so long as there's some value that the customer thinks that they're getting a better product for? Does there come a point where an employer is going to say, "Well, I don't want my employees to drink more coffee. I want them to be at work because they like it more. Maybe they're going to drink more coffee or they're going to drink more water. I want them back at their desk. I don't want to spend so much time in the coffee, and I don't want to spend substantially more. I don't want a 20 or 30% increase in my cost." Do you find that? Let me ask you, Adam. Do you find that because I know you do a lot of sales pitches, do you find that to be an issue, and how do you respond to those kind of questions?
So I think a lot has to do with, for me personally, education. And it comes from, walking into a new client, seeing what they're doing in their pantry, getting a feel for what they have to kind of deal with. And again, some of the examples that we were talking about before, may have to do with them ordering soda and taking an order in and then having to take that order in and make a delivery. And there's expense to that, and there's time that's involved in that. Or they can just have one point of use machine that incorporates all of these drinks from one piece of equipment, reducing their expenses. So again, that's an educational perspective that I get to talk about and provide a piece of equipment that has water and sparkling water and soda and nutritious drinks not made from corn syrup and things that aren't good for the body. So again, it's just about talking to the potential opportunity and digging into the direction that they want. It could be as simple as saving them on how they purchase, paper towels or even sugar. They're buying sugar in a box that's 1,000, and they can buy a 2,000 piece box, and it's half the price. So it's just about kind of digging into the program and knowing how we can kind of help and educate and be a great partner. Those are what's going to breed the opportunity and build the trust.
Yeah.
And Ralph, let me ask you, you go to a lot of shows, see a lot of the newest equipment, the newest offerings. Do any of these products actually decrease the cost to the customer? In other words, by technology, you can produce a better product at the same or lower cost, rather than just increasing the cost to the customer. Are the products that are coming out in the market, do any of them do that?
Yeah, I mean, you got to look at the whole pie, right? It's not just like, oh, my cost of beans are this, and now my cost of beans are that. It's kind of the holistic view, right? As business owners, like each other, we care about the bottom line, right? And so if I can look at the whole break room holistically, or even just the coffee program holistically, I want to know kind of what is the net result of all of that. Maybe the coffee bean price is a little bit taller here with this guy, but so to speak to your technology question, there is energy saving mode in this machine. So we program our units that when you're not in the office from, I don't know, 8 p.m. to like 6 a.m., this unit goes into rest. So the boiler isn't working, and the various components of the machine that can suck energy are reduced, right? And so there's a cost savings there, right? So to that end, like technology is working in our favor to save us some of our energy costs, and efficiency costs, and even just the machine working properly by having a better grinder or boiler or various components, which they are improving. That can reduce downtime, which then again reduces the amount of time your employees may have to leave the office to go get a cup of coffee, which speaks directly to productivity. Now, these things don't show up on your bill, Howard, right? They don't actually sometimes present themselves as like rather obvious. So you would need to kind of monitor kind of the whole program in order to gauge, is this saving me time and effort? But I believe, and where we're heading is a more efficient and effective piece of technology or associated with these equipments that will reduce costs and reduce downtime and bring about a better ROI. And that is a big focus of ours, especially touting the zero waste pantry. We literally provide metrics to our end users and showing them some of these reductions, which again aren't always on the bill you get every month, but sort of indirectly are showing us that these programs are more cost effective.
You, I would think that a big cost of yours is service calls, that you have to have people on call to do this. Now, I would think that since there's computerization on all these machines now, can you do more service calls remotely, solve more issues that an employee that a company may have, and do it remotely rather than having to send someone up to the office? And I would think that would be a substantial cost savings if that's possible. Does that
Yeah,
happen?
not like, I think like how you're referring to it is, can we click a button from headquarters and it fixes the machine? We have certified technicians actually receiving calls from our clients, our service calls that they can help troubleshoot over the phone. It's still a bit manual in the terms of like how to fix it. You'd have to go over to the machine yourself and do this or that, which does reduce our service calls, right? Which is a goal. We prefer to not have to dispatch a tech if we don't have to. But of course, we're not going to make people like, do all this labor intensive work where, something a technician can get done within, 15, 20 minutes. So to your point, yes, we definitely aim to reduce the amount of calls by troubleshooting over the phone. But no, the technology hasn't presented itself in such a way where we can activate a machine or fix a machine from HQ. Adam, I don't know if I'm missing
Yeah,
anything.
just specifically. So I'll give you a couple of examples real quick. It's simple to think about. So some of the newer machines, if something's wrong, a code would pop up, and it would help us to know what that is. If it's something that we can troubleshoot, um, we can troubleshoot it right over the phone. A lot of the times when you get into the program, there's a little remote control on the machine. You can actually see, what's happened over the past, day and what's been going on with the machine. So it helps that certified tech to, be able to kind of get to the point where maybe we don't have to make that service call and they can help them right over the phone. And we also do a lot of videos. We do a lot of educational videos, to help clients just know what to do when something does come up. So there is some of that is available, but everything that we're trying to do by having a certified tech in the office is to help the customer get back up and running. And obviously, if we can't, we send someone, we dispatch someone immediately.
I'd like to take it somewhere else, something that I'm curious about. Tariffs have become an issue in our country where we're putting tariffs on everything, including coffee beans and coffee. Has that affected the price to the customer? Have you absorbed tariff costs? Have you passed it on? How has tariffs affected your business?
Yeah, it's funny because several months ago, or maybe even longer at this point, I was saying to my networking group that tariffs don't affect my business because we don't buy our machines from heavily tariffed countries like China. And I was touting that as a good thing because our quality of product is sourced elsewhere, whether it be here or in other countries like Spain, Korea, UK. But then, of course, I had to bite my tongue because the tariffs came right down the pike on the beans themselves. And that is what has been noticeable to the level that we could not sustain absorbing it any longer. We tried we try to get creative and not have to put what I consider to be a very ugly line item on a bill, which is a tariff charge. So we have had to have that kind of difficult conversation, which is, people understand it's not like we're inventing it. It's not our tariff charge. They're not just tariffing hydrate. It's just something that is, come down because of the president's orders. So the reality is we're all kind of dealing with it, I think, in some fashion or another. Maybe not in your line of work, but in mine, yes. And we have had to basically just pass it forward. Obviously, we're not marking it up. That would be ridiculous. But we're just, we're getting hit with it from our manufacturers. And therefore, we're just kind of passing that buck to our clients. We're hoping that it goes away. And in some cases, we've had to make exceptions. But the reality is, like, it is what it is right now. And, like other challenges we've had in the world, when COVID came around or the big crisis in '08, adjustments kind of had to be made. Even just, for example, here in New York City, we had the congestion pricing come down the pike. That is a huge tax on my trucks if they're trying to come in and through Midtown, especially. So we have absorbed that cost. And it's $15 or so every time a truck goes in. So these costs keep kind of piling on, and inflationary costs over the years after COVID, and then tariffs. And it just seems like everything is just going north, north, north. So what does a service provider do? I mean, we got to stay competitive. We got to keep prices as low as we humanly can. But then there are just certain breaking points where you just say, hey, guys, like, you see the news like we do. This is what's happening. This is what we're transparently having to do. And, you're going to see this item on there, but we're hoping that the minute it goes away, we'll just do the same thing and pull it off of ours. So that's kind of what we've been experiencing, especially in the last, I would say, 6 to 8 months.
And Adam, let me ask you, clients' preferences. How have they changed in the last few years, and where do you see them changing? Do they want more coffee products, more beverage products? What do you see happening in the appetite of your clients?
So what I started to see probably about a year ago is that people were starting to get back to the office, and that's a great sign for us. We love when employers are requiring their employees to be back in the office, and it's a very competitive work environment, and the employers are feeling it. They want the best employees, and part of the way that they do it is with better amenities. So, for us, what we saw is, what I'll say is like the next step up. So if someone would say they maybe want a hot and cold cooler, they would say, well, what's the next step up from a hot and cold cooler? We say, well, you can add sparkling water. So we've done a lot more of that as a potential upgrade, just because people want to offer that in the office where they had just had hot and cold water. Now they're doing hot, cold, ambient, and sparkling water. Same thing with the ice machine. People love ice in their drinks. And to be fair, the refrigerator in the office is a place where a lot of people can go and a lot of people's hands can go. So having a point of use ice machine where you just put your cup out, push the button, you get ice from it. It's chewable ice. People like the chewable ice. It's a very natural upgrade as well. And it does the same. It does hot. It does, room temperature water because it has the ice, and it has hot water. So again, it just depends on the conversation, what the end user is looking for. And I think it's safe to say that, if someone wants really, really great coffee, they know that they're going to have to put a little effort into it. And that's why I think our Bean to Cup program has exploded so much, because people do love fresh coffee, fresh espresso, cappuccino, lattes, hot chocolate, mocha, cortados, all these fancy drinks just from one piece of equipment at the push of a button.
Well, I know firsthand that the product
You
itself
did.
is fantastic. I know that from putting it in, and I miss it already. It's only been a
I know
week.
someone who can help you.
I need you to come down on the price, the fees on it,
Just for
because
you, Howard, we'll work on
just
it.
for me, just I mean, I have to, from a businessman's point of view. I mean, what you do is part of our expenses. It's an expense, and all employers are looking to manage their expenses. And I'm looking at it from that perspective. I see things are going up in cost, and I see that it's becoming more expensive. And I'm trying to get a handle on it. It's not the biggest expense we have in the office, obviously, but
Okay.
it's something. Yeah, but it
Actually, I would
it is.
I hope that is your
You would hope no, not quite. We have bigger expenses, but I do see that when I go to different offices, they have different types of machinery, but I don't see that type of bean to. I've never seen that type of bean to cup machine other than in a like I've seen it in car dealerships. I've seen it in that. I don't think it's in just my limited experience. I don't see that as being very prevalent in law offices, accounting offices, business type offices. Is that Would that be fair to say that you don't really sell a lot of those machines in that environment? At least at this point, it's more uh, for a higher end sales type of an office.
Well, yeah, I mean, higher end, and I don't have to tell you, being in the law world, there's, small law firms that, like, mom and pop, and then you got,
Right.
like Kirkland and Ellis is one of our biggest consumers of
Okay.
coffee. They have multiple, and they don't even just offer our coffee in their space. They have other, they actually have a barista on one of their floors, right, which is not dealing with us. So it really depends on who you're talking about. And certainly we serve every industry on earth. There isn't an industry that we don't have a foothold in. As you mentioned, car dealerships are probably at the very top. Well, I don't know if they're the top of the list when it comes to bean to cup coffee, but they're up there. I mean, we actually came up on a renewal recently with a automotive group. They have 7 dealerships, and we offer them something that could be potentially less expensive in one of our other coffee offerings, to see if they prefer to lower their cost that way, because they were asking for a reduction, and they opted to stay with the bean to cup. Why? Because they love the way it tastes, the way it looks, and it gives a good impression to their clients, right? So I think when you're client facing, it becomes really important. But then there's also circumstances where, we've been tasked by the JLLs of the world and the Cushmans of the world to help bring people back to the office by providing these type of amenities that they cannot get at home, right? So by being a little bit more high end, it is creating an urgency to show up to the office, where they're trying to attract people who can work remotely, to say, hey, I can't get this coffee or this water at home. If I go to the office, though, I can. So they look at it, yes, it is an operational expense, but it's one that brings about, again, kind of that return where they're getting what they're looking for. And it really just matters about your goals. Like, if you want people in the office, and that coffee is really going to be a piece that actually says, I can't wait to go to the workplace today, then I think that expense really lowers in your mind, because it's doing something greater than just providing somebody a cup of Joe, right? Which you can get anywhere, like you said. But it really depends on what office you're going to, Howard. I know you said you kind of been around, but I'm seeing bean to cup coffee machines everywhere. But maybe I'm targeting some of the larger firms personally. So the big
Right.
banks, the big financial firms, the big tech firms, they all have bean to cup. There is no other option for them. So I guess it really depends.
I've seen it mostly when a business is giving the coffee primarily to its clients and customers.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
not so much of an issue as when it's really for their employees. But it's a very good point you make, that would this be an enticement for people who are working at home 2 or 3 days a week to come into the office more?
Yeah,
I'm not so sure that it's enough of an enticement to have them come in,
it's
but
one
it's
facet of
certainly a
it.
good argument. It's certainly a good argument, and it would possibly could make them feel more. Anyway, I think we're getting towards the end. It's actually been a very interesting conversation.
Thank you.
I think
Thanks.
we covered a lot.
We
Is
did.
there anything that you want to leave with my viewership before we sign off today, about your business, and about what they should do if they want to upgrade their coffee service? Who should they call, and what they should do?
We should definitely call Adam. He's the best. Seriously, the guy picks up the phone on one ring every time. He's just really, I don't know how he does it, but he's one of the most caring, passionate people, especially when it comes to coffee. The guy lives the business. And I think what you'll find here with Hydrate that we haven't talked about, in a sense, is that we are all very much on mission here. One of the missions is to reduce the number of plastic pods, bottles, 5-gallon jugs. To date, we estimate we've saved cumulatively over 600 million of those single-use bottles from landfill. And certainly we feel like we're doing greater good in so doing. But what you'll find when you deal with anybody here at our firm is that they all have a certain buy-in. They all are on mission with us for that reason. They're not just looking at it as a check that they make. That's part of it, but they feel like we're doing overall good. And I think that is kind of the secret sauce of Hydrate in general, is that we have a very family type feel. We have over 40 people here, and everybody is, like I said, sort of bought in to something greater than themselves. They feel like it is a greater mission than just simply providing a water or coffee service. We feel like we're making people healthier. We're making the planet a cleaner and safer place. And so anybody that you meet here, from our technicians to our staff, I think you'll be greeted with somebody who genuinely cares. And I think that's reflective in our reviews. If you go online and Google us, you can see what people are saying in real time about who we are and what we've done for them. So I would encourage you to look into that and definitely give Adam a call. Like I said, there isn't anybody who cares as much or will be on your side as much to get you the best deal possible.
Thanks,
Adam. I want to say that if coffee is the most important thing in your life, that's a little bit sad, but
I think John's a little higher than for him, but it's close.
Okay. Well, thank you both for being on the show. I can tell you, as a relatively new customer, so far so good. The service has been great. The coffee's great. And we look forward to having a long relationship with you. And thank you for being on the mark.
Never gets old hearing that. Thank you, Howard.
Okay. Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode of On the Mark. I started this podcast by quoting John F. Kennedy and would like to end it with quoting one of my favorite baseball players, Nolan Ryan. Enjoying success requires the ability to adapt. Only by being open to change will you have a true opportunity to get the most from your talent. I wish you success in staying ahead of the curve instead of behind the 8 ball. Thank you for tuning in.